The real game is in your nervous system. They tell you to master strategies, to find the perfect setup, and to chase the next holy grail indicator that flashes green when it's time to buy and red when it's time to sell. But the real game, the one that decides whether you'll be here 5 years from now, is not on your screen. It's in your nervous system. Price doesn't wait for your permission. It doesn't wait for your plans. It waits patient and silent, watching you react. It watches how quickly you abandon your rules the moment pain enters the room. Most traders burn out not because they lack intelligence, but because they can't stomach uncertainty. They treat losses like personal insults instead of tuition fees. They want control, yet they worship chaos. They chase instant feedback in a field built on delayed rewards. You can hear it in their breathing, the panic after a losing trade, the small, desperate click to open another position, the illusion that the next one will heal the last. Peter Brandt once said, "A trader takes 3 to 5 years just to develop the consciousness, the discipline, the inner stability to survive. 3 to 5 years not to get rich, but just to stop being dangerous to themselves. That's the secret no one on social media will ever tell you. Every account you've seen explode was built on someone else's ashes. Imagine this: your account balance is flatlining and your confidence is bleeding out. You stare at the screen frozen. Somewhere deep inside, a quieter voice whispers, "This is the lesson you paid for." Because trading isn't about markets, it's about mirrors. Every loss, every missed opportunity, and every over-leveraged position is just a reflection of you, projected in candlesticks and numbers. The market punishes ego and rewards humility in the most expensive classroom on earth. You've been told to study charts, but you should have been told to study yourself. You must understand the part of you that wants to double down after pain, the part that feels safer doing something, anything, rather than sitting still. Mastery begins the day you realize the goal isn't to win every trade. It's to survive long enough for wisdom to compound. And maybe, just maybe, if you stay in the game long enough, you'll notice that trading is not about making money. It's about becoming someone who no longer needs the market to define his worth. Before you can learn to make money, you must learn to lose without losing yourself. That's where every real trader begins the apprenticeship of pain. Welcome to the trading psychology path. What you're about to hear isn't financial advice. It's a map through the psychological minefield that destroys 95% of traders within their first 5 years. This is the education no broker will ever sell you. Let's begin. Chapter 1, the apprenticeship of pain. Every trader begins as a believer. You come in thinking you're smarter than the market, hungrier than others, and chosen somehow to decode its rhythm. But the market is a mirror polished by blood. The first few trades feel like destiny. You win, you smile, and you think you've found your path. And then it begins, the slow dissection of your illusions. You start losing not just money, but your sense of control. Every red candle feels like a personal attack. You chase, you double down, and you tell yourself you're learning. But what you're really learning is surrender. Peter Brandt called it the apprenticeship of pain. This is the phase every trader must crawl through before they even deserve to call themselves a student. He blew accounts, 3 of them. He lost everything he deposited again and again until the pain became data. He said it takes 3 years just to smell the market and to find out who you really are inside it. Because trading doesn't build character, it reveals it. If you're impulsive, it exposes it. If you're fearful, it magnifies it. If you're arrogant, it bankrupts you. Yet those years of confusion are sacred. They are the purification process, the moment when comfort dies and awareness is born. You begin to realize you're not fighting the market, you're fighting your own biology, the dopamine rush, the cortisol crash, and the trembling hands before pressing buy. The real education isn't technical analysis, it's emotional regulation. In this apprenticeship, you learn that consistency is not built through strategy, but through self-control. You start to understand that surviving a loss gracefully is more important than celebrating a win loudly. You learn to see capital not as money, but as oxygen. When it's gone, the game ends. Every mistake becomes a scar that teaches you to breathe slower, think longer, and risk smaller. At some point, you stop asking, "How do I make more?" and start asking, "How do I stop losing what I already have?" That's when growth begins. The goal of the early years isn't profit, it's identity. You're sculpting a trader who can stand inside chaos without being consumed by it. The market will test you, break you, mock you, and finally, if you endure, teach you to see clearly. SHIAPTR55, make the numbers big at some point. Every trader faces the mirror of math. The market stops responding to faith, intuition, or hope and demands evidence. You can feel when that shift happens, the thrill fades, replaced by cold arithmetic. It's the moment when you realize your gut has cost you more than any losing streak ever could. Peter Brandt didn't guess, he measured. Every trade was a data point, and every result was a lesson written in numbers. He built spreadsheets that became journals of truth, not diaries of feelings, but databases of behavior. He tracked columns for entry date, exit gain loss, time held, risk, reward, and volatility. Thousands of lines formed a fingerprint of his process. He learned to speak the language of expectancy, profit factor, and average win to loss ratios, the metrics that strip away illusion. Because when you quantify yourself, you can't lie anymore. You discover your patterns, the setups you overtrade, the time frames that drain you, and the positions that violate your rules. Brandt called it making the numbers beg, not to flatter you, but to expose you. The spreadsheet doesn't care about your ego. It doesn't care that you almost took a great trade or would have made more. It only records what is. That honesty, brutal, unfiltered, and undeniable, is what builds mastery. Most traders run from the math because numbers remove the fantasy. They want stories, not statistics. But the story of every trader is ultimately written in percentages. The moment you accept that, something inside you clicks. You begin refining parameters instead of chasing setups. You learn that expectancy is your compass, the average reward per risk unit over time. SHIAPTR, the psychology of the void. The most dangerous moment for a trader isn't when they are losing, it's when they are doing nothing. We call this the void. It is the empty space between setups where your mind begins to manufacture reasons to act. In the void, boredom becomes a physical weight. You start looking at 5-minute charts when your edge is on the daily. You start feeling like the market has gone too low, despite no signal. This is where the nervous system seeks the dopamine hit of being in the market to avoid the anxiety of being alone with one's thoughts. Peter Brandt mastered the void by treating it as a performance metric. If he could sit for 2 weeks without a trade and not feel the itch of desperation, he knew his psychology was peak. He realized that the market is a machine designed to extract money from the active and deliver it to the patient. To survive the long game, you must become comfortable with the silence of a non-trending market. If you cannot handle the boredom of the void, you will surely succumb to the terror of the drawdown. The anatomy of the void trade: amateur reaction, professional action, patience, forcing trades to make things happen, waiting for the market to come to them, focus watching, every tick on multiple screens reviewing, high-level structures, once a day motion, restlessness, and anxiety, calmness, and detached observation, Terra 420. The architecture of beliefy: do we break our rules? It isn't a lack of memory, it's a conflict of belief. Deep down, many traders believe they can outsmart the collective. They believe they are the exception to the rule of probability. To change your results, you must dismantle your architecture of belief. You must stop believing that you know what will happen next. The truth is, no one knows, even the most perfect head and shoulders pattern has a statistical failure rate. When you truly believe that any single trade is a random event, you no longer feel the need to be right. If the outcome is random, there is no ego involved. You simply execute, and if it hits your stop, you thank the market for the data and move on. This is the shift from predictor to probabilist. A predictor feels like a failure when a trade loses. A probabilist feels like a success as long as they followed the process, regardless of the outcome. This internal restructuring is the final, wiring of the nervous system. SHIAPTR 150, the legacy of the humble. As you reach the end of this journey, you realize that Peter Brandt's legacy isn't a specific indicator or a secret chart pattern. His legacy is the proof that a human being can remain sane, profitable, and humble in an industry designed to destroy those three things. He proved that you don't need to be a wolf or a shark. You can be a scientist. You can be a clerk. You can be a student who never stops learning. The legacy you leave in your own trading journey won't be the peak of your equity curve. It will be the discipline you maintained during the valleys. It will be the way you spoke to yourself after your 5th loss in a row. It will be the dignity with which you closed a position that went against you. Wealth is the byproduct. Character is the product. If you build the character of a master, the wealth will eventually find a way to flow into your accounts. It is an inevitability of the math. See Aptier 16c. The final gateway to mastery is the realization that you are already enough. You don't need the market to give you a win to be a person of value. You don't need the green PL to justify your existence. When you reach this state, the market loses its power over you. You trade from a place of abundance rather than a place of lack. You no longer need the money, and ironically, that is when the money starts to come in abundance. This is the end of the script, but it is the beginning of your apprenticeship. The fire is waiting. The mirrors are polished. The numbers are ready to be counted. The question is no longer, how do I trade? But who will I become? Every candle is a heartbeat, and every trade is a breath. Step into the arena, not to conquer the world, but to finally conquer yourself. The long game has just begun, and the first move is yours.